Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to route out this "Man's Not Hot." I think it's a lyric from a song. It's just a joke between me and my son, so we just thought we'll just route it out today and pop it on the shed with the rest of our projects. And just to make it a little bit more different, we're actually going to incorporate it on the side of a nice big long saw. Duh. So you start off with your point there, nice thick blade all the way up, and then we've drawn on some kind of handle at the top. And just to make it a bit longer, once we've played around and shaped this, we will add on a chunkier piece at the end just to finish that handle off. We'll see how we go as we go along. If it's not working out, we'll literally just cut it off there at the bottom, and it's just a nice little simple "Man's Not Hot" plaque. As always for me, we've done our template. Remember, we've stuck it on there. I use carbon paper all the time. Carbon paper, graphite paper, basically the same stuff. Ailish just throw that underneath. Draw around it with a pencil. That way you can use that over and over again. The same as you can use that over and over again. And the image is now transferred onto the wood. For routing out purposes, I like to use these CNC bits. They do come in different degrees, 10s, 15s, you get 20s and 30s. I'll probably use a 20 today. I'm literally going to route out the lines and all the wording, and then we're going to have to remove the backing bit just to give us a blade effect, and then we'll turn it over and remove the backing bit on the opposite side to make the blade stand out a little bit better. That's going to be plenty thick enough. I don't know if you can see that. I've actually drawn two lines here. So our router bit, we'll set it to that depth there, the smallest one, and that's plenty thick enough. Does that make a word? Thick enough for us to go around that lettering. Route out this area, same on the other side. So the actual blade will be as thick as that middle piece. It seems thick for a blade, but with this cheap fencing wood, if you're going to go after thickness as that again, really thin, it's just going to warp and twist and buckle up. So unfortunately, because it's going outside and it is nasty wood, we're going to have to leave some kind of thickness to it. So that's plenty enough, that depth there, for routing out with. Once we've gone around with the CNC bits, which obviously need to go in a little adapter collet, 6.35mm, a 3.175mm for your CNC bit, slots in there, that now slots into your router. Like I say, we've done all the lettering now, we've gone all the way around. We need to clear out the backing bit. End milling bits, fantastic. They slot in the same adapter like that. Pop it into the router to the same depth. They do come in different sizes. They're quite small for these areas. There are some large areas to remove. And I normally use these straight metric bits. They've got a 1/4 inch shaft on, so they'll fit the router, no problem whatsoever. They are quite aggressive. Excuse me. You can see the chunk of that one. Double-sided blade. And we can set that in to remove all these. We'll see how it's coming out nearer the time. Okay, we'll pop our CNC bit in the router. We'll set it to that little depth there, and we'll start going around this lettering. Right, we've gone round all our lettering. That's definitely the easiest bit. It's quite dusty, this wood today, even though it's fence boards, and I do use them a lot. They do vary from board to board. I know it sounds a bit daft, but anyway, we've managed to go all the way around all our lettering, as you can see. Took the centre out the A. That'd be a nice depth gauge for when we put on our end milling bits. Now the idea is to remove all this outer section, leaving those letters standing up nicely, and I literally just want to route up towards that line, stopping maybe just short of that line. On a previous project I went up to the line itself, but got a bit carried away. Then I remembered that we're going to have to cut this out with a scroll saw, and I basically made it a little bit awkward, but it worked out fine. So on this one, we're literally going to route up to there, not far off the line, over the full blade, and then we'll cut it out with a scroll saw, and then we'll pop the router back on again, and basically just nick all that bit off all the way around. And then hopefully we'll turn it over, and because we've cut out the shape of the blade, we know when we turn it over, it'll just be a case of filling it out the full length of the blade. It'll all make sense when we see it. And when we cut it out on the scroll saw, we'll literally just come up to here, round the actual guard piece, and right off the end of the wood itself. Okay, we'll start removing this outer section, the clear out bit, with our end milling bits. Remember, they fit the same adapter collet, so just a case of finding one that fits. We'll say this little green one. Remember, we've got to get into these pointed areas, into here, so it's no good throwing a big chunky thing like that on. You're just not going to get anywhere. A bit too aggressive, those ones, but they are ideal if you're clearing out large areas. So we'll start with one of these, and if it is a bit slow and a little bit boring, quickly just pop that in there like so, up to that little barrier. That's a new thing, that barrier. That wasn't on there before, but they've started putting with barriers on some of them. And just push it in. We'll pop that in the router, set it to letter A, that in middle piece, and start removing this. But if it is a bit slow and it's a bit dragged out, we'll pop on one of these straight flush bits. Obviously the smallest one, because we need to get inside these letters. You might sneak round with that one, but obviously you're not going to get past that point there. You'll get through there, but you certainly won't get further up here. So stick to what you know. Right, let's start removing so much of this blade. Right, you can see from that, we've gone all the way around. It's still rough and ready at the moment. Remember, it's only cheap fencing wood. Once we've gone round with our Dremel and tidied things up, it will certainly look a lot better. Notice we've left that nice little pencil line there. That's just a nice line for me to cut it out with a scroll saw. You could use a bandsaw on this. You could even use an handsaw if you wanted to. But I'm going to use a scroll saw. I personally like to use these spiral blades. They are good because they cut in any direction. So I could basically put this on the saw like so, start there and just keep going that way right to the end, round the point, and then come back that way. Whereas your normal blades, you get a standard pin blade. These come on your cheaper saws. They call them pins because obviously there's a pin at both ends, and that just locks into your saw like so. Once feel smooth on the way down, change again, smooth on the way down, rough on the way up. That way you know you've got the blade in the right position and the teeth facing towards you. Now for smaller detailed work, we require a small pilot hole in the middle of a project. They do pinless blades. Now these are really thin. They have a clamp at the top, clamp on the bottom, more for your more expensive and more updated saws. And they would allow you, if you're doing some very detailed work, you imagine you had a little pinhole there like that, to feed that through. pinless blade will go through no problem. Set it on your saw and you could cut out that little area. Whereas if you had a pin blade, you obviously wouldn't fit those pins in there. However, those two blades, they only cut facing towards you. So you'd have to come along here, let's say if we were going to cut that out, and then turn that wood. Well, you're not going to be able to turn it because you're banging into yourself. Same as the back of the saw. But spiral blades, they cut in any direction. Okay, we'll pop one on, and if you'll cut this out now. Right, we've made it round with our spiral blade. Now, they're not the easiest of blades to cut with, but they do for me. So, is it perfectly straight? No, it's not perfectly straight. That's what sanders are for. We'll get that sorted out. I had one little incident up here when I was that busy trying to sort out my camera. I've actually cut into there very slightly. We might just got away with that. If not, bit of glue, bit of dust, fill that in there, and we're good to go. When I actually cut with the scroll saw or use my router, I'm actually sat on a little stool down there. If I can just show you, I sit down there on the little stool and I have a tripod set between my legs and a camera that sits here, my mobile phone. So I've got to work round the camera itself. So it's a little bit awkward, but hey, use what you've got available to you. Anyway, all we need to do now is we've got our general shape of the nice sword. It's a good size. Remember, we're going to put an extra cap on the end of this, so that handle will be a lot taller than what it is at the moment in time. So all we need to do now is just remove this little lip, remember, and that's just a case of popping that on there. We can put our original bits back in place, which these are on there, just so for us to lean on, like so. If we just throw those back in there, just quickly, that will sit like that nicely. And we'll just get the router. Remember, we've still got it set from the last depth we used for clearing out this lettering. We'll just put that on there now and just go up to the edge and remove that lip all the way around. Right, we've gone all the way around the edges. If I just remove the side bits just to show you, you can more or less see that we're getting the basic shape of a nice sword there up to the handle. Now I want to do exactly the same on the back. Now it wouldn't need it because this is going to get fastened against the shed, so doing the back is absolutely pointless really. It's not a plaything, this one, it's just a display purposes. However, I will route out the back basically to the same depth that we've done there. We're literally going to turn it over like so, swap these around, pop those back on there, get it all nice flush and firm. And then I'll just use a couple of brackets, something like one of these, and that will just hold it in place nicely for us. So we can clamp that like so. Once it's somewhere near, like that, and we can put one at the other end should we need it. So we're literally going to pop in our straight flush metric bit or metric straight flush bit should I say. Double-sided blades. These are quite aggressive, but we'll clear this out in a second. We'll set it to the same depth on the other side and literally just remove all this middle section just to say we've had a go and just let you guys see what these metric straight flush bits can do. Okay, we'll clear the back out of this saw now. Right, you can just about see from there, we've gone all the way around with our router bit. They are nice, those metric straight flush, but say they're a bit aggressive, so just be careful. Now it looks quite thick, does that blade. I didn't go any thinner, because remember, it's just fencing wood. Once the weather gets to it, this could twist and buckle. I might have to put screws in this now, just to actually attach it to the wall to stop that doing that, but we'll see. Okay, just general tidy up. Still a little bit rough is this, a little mouse sander, general cleaning up, and then we'll go around with a Dremel, with a little sanding burr, on a flexi shaft like this, just to get in between those letters, and give it a general tidy up, and then we'll concentrate on the handle at the other end. Okay, that's enough sanding down for me. I'm more concerned about the lettering and the actual man's not hot plaque, if you know what I mean. The sword's just an afterthought, just to make it a bit different from a standard plaque. So we've sanded it down the best we can. We've more or less got away with that little nick there. This will all be painted, by the way, eventually. All be painted silver to give it a metal effect. There was a nasty knot down there, right in the corner, and it's left a little chunk out of it, but that's fine. Been into battle, this one. Okay, the handle wise, I don't want to concentrate too much on it. I mean, if you really wanted to go to town on this, you could route out fancy twirlies and all. There's all sorts on there you could do. I just want a nice little standard sword, so you can tell it's a sword, and nothing too fantastic. Now the ending piece, I've just found another piece of scrap wood. Now the idea is literally I've just drawn around this one, just free-handed, some kind of shape there, like so, as you can see. And the idea that we will attach this onto the end of the handle, like so. Just give it a chunky end to it. Now I'll cut this out on the scroll saw. You've seen the scroll saw in action when we did the blade, so we're missing nothing there. So I'll cut this out, and then we'll start shaping it, and then we'll come back when we start to round this off. Just a little general tidy up on these corners, give it more little shape, and then we'll attach this to the end, and then we should be on to the painting side of things. I'll come back when this has been cut out. Right, we've cut that out with a spiral blade. They cut through there, no problem whatsoever. Some people have issues with the spirals. They reckon they're a rough cut and not so clever, but I've not touched that. That has just come out of there. And apart from the dust, that's quite smooth, is that one. But anyway, each to their own. Now the idea is to, obviously, might thin it down a little bit, give it a bit of shape, plenty of sanding on this one, and eventually we'll attach it to the end of the handle there. Now the best bet would be maybe just to route out with a Dremel the little section there, just enough so we can just force that handle in slightly and then wood glue it in. If you're not too sure, we could get some nice screws, put them into the end of there, and let you go through the whole lot. Then get some wood filler, fill the hole in afterwards. That's going to be nice secure on there. Because we're not going to paint this, we're going to have a nice silver blade. This could be gold, a brownish handle, and a gold end there. So it'll all be painted nicely at the end. Okay, I'll just generally shape this out now with a bit of sanding paper, the sanding drum on a Dremel, and then come back when this has been cut out and we're ready to attach it to our sword. Right, it went a little bit dark on us there. Unfortunately the battery went. So while that was charging up, I basically routed out our little slot there. Couldn't afford to go too deep because the handle was quite small. This was just the length of the wood. So to get a good section of that into there, the handle will just get a little bit too small. So to play safe, we've routed that bit out. We know that fits on there nicely, like so. You get the general idea we're going through. I will put a little bit of wood glue in there, but to play safe, I've also drilled an hole and put a nice screw in there, which literally goes into about 1 inch in there. That way it's nice and secure. So sometimes it's worth the effort. And once that's screwed in, obviously, we just put some wood filler in there, or you can make yourself a round little doweling cap to go inside. So basically, there's our end now. That would fit on there. Just in case getting a screwdriver quickly. You get the general idea what I'm doing here. And we'll just tighten that in like so. Quick, quick, quick. All the way down. There we go. Okay, that's nice and solid. That's not going to go anywhere. And we'll just fill that in. Once that's nice and dry, we'll come back and start just generally just rounding these edges off. We're not going to put a lot of work on this, but you can see the shape we're going for. Right, that's it. Painting time. No more sanding down on this one for me. We've glued our end piece in there. I've rounded that off slightly. We can't go too crazy. It's just not that thick enough kind of wood. And at one time, I was going to start doing some fancy work on there. And I wanted to put something in the end of there. But sometimes you've got to say stop and make it be near enough, as we say. My main part of this project is the man's not hot. So we can always save the fancy stuff for another day. Just nice, simple, easy projects that anybody can really do. Now remember, we've put a screw in there and I made myself a little doweling piece here. I don't know if you can see it. Like so. Just a bit of scrap lying around. Cut a piece off, banged it in nice and tight, rounded it off. Glued it in. Nobody's any wiser. We're going to paint this all gold at the end. Now, regards to painting, like I've just said, it's a metallic gold. I don't even know where this one's come from. But I'm going to do the end piece and this section here. Nice gold. I found some of the classic varnish. I don't even know what's in there by the time we break the skin off. That's just going to be enough to do the handle with. I was going to carve on the handle at one time, but there again, It's not that kind of project. So mahogany on there, varnish should I say, classic. Now silver for the blade, metallic silver again. I think I used this on my man cave sign. That's about set and all. I think I'm ready for some new paints, to be honest. And then once that's all painted, we will either go on the lettering with the classic mahogany if there's any left. If not, just standard black. Okay, we'll start throwing some paint on this and we'll come back hopefully when this project is finished. Right, that's it. This little project is over. Just for the lettering itself, I went for the black instead. The varnish wasn't going on so clever. I sprayed on a couple of coats of yacht varnish, basically just to give it a shine. The silver and the gold, and obviously the varnish, they're all made for going outside, so we had no issues coating that with anything. And you can see the lettering itself, just enough on there to give it a nice shine. So that's it. This little project is finished. If you don't like the lettering, you can always turn it over and you've got yourself a nice standard sword. The varnish on the handle, I went on a little bit too thick and I didn't let it dry, I'll be honest with you. And I grabbed hold of that to paint the rest of this and it smudged it and creased it. But I think that gives it a nice leather effect. So I'm going to leave that. So if anybody asks, it's got a leather handle on it. Okay then, that's it then, we're done. So there you have it, Man's Not Hot lyric song title on a nice sword, measuring at 38 inches by 6 inches there at the gold bit. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for watching.